what you can do for marking and an analysis of progress, and also the differentiation that goes on within the platform as well is also all automated. So there's no worry about whether your students are going to be learning effectively or using the correct strategies, and also from your point of view, trying to make sure it's as pain-free a process as possible. You're able to automatically track and mark the work that students do. And also it's free, which is always a benefit, and I know people like, especially with budgets being as tight as they are at the moment. So we wanted to obviously make sure that our implementation of the theory was effective. And the way we did that was we looked at doing a randomized control trial with just over 1,100 students. And what we did was looked at other other home learning or independent learning tools like revision guides, and we looked at comparing that to Seneca and how they differed. Now, what we found was with very similar pre-test results, and the post-test results showed that actually the students who used Seneca did over twice as well as the students who used the revision guides. So we see that as an effective validation of what we're doing, and we implemented the theory that underpins our platform and the way it works. Now, that research was peer reviewed and published. If you'd like to read about it, you can go into one of these journal articles, or feel free to ask questions, of course, as well. Now, the content we have on Seneca, we cover right from year 3 right up to the end of A-level, and everything is exam board specific in Key Stage 4 and 5, or in Key Stage 2 and 3, it's linked directly to the national curriculum. So you can be sure that everything that your students are learning is exactly what you need them to know. Now, currently we have just over 3.75 million users, about 190,000 teachers, and just over 40,000 parents. So there's lots of people using it, which we're really pleased with. But yeah, there's lots of stuff on there that hopefully you can go on and you can find useful. So let's go in and take a look at specifically the functionality we have that can help you to catch up your students. So first of all, worth noting that the setup process in terms of Seneca is very straightforward. If you haven't come across it before, the best way to describe it is it's just very easy. Basically, it's a 4-step process. The first one is just to create a class, which I'll just talk you through how to do it quickly. You give it a name, and then you can set up the courses for your students. So you need to add the courses and say, you students, I want you to do courses X, Y, Z. Before that, you can use the Add Courses button. And you can choose the different exam boards you want, the different age groups. Let's go for a food prep course, for example, different exam boards, whatever it is. And you can see some courses that you can add. So I'm going to choose these 2 here. It's the course I want to add to this class. And those are the courses I'm saying to the students, I want you students to do these courses. And then you can also set an assignment. Now, this is when the first bit of like thinking about how you can help students catch up really comes in. So if you create an assignment for this class, you've got these 2 courses that you just added. Students can go in here and you can go in here and choose whichever sections you want to set for your students. And why this is so useful is because it allows you to direct the students exactly where you want them to go. And it also allows you to view the data and work on putting in place interventions based on that data. So you give the assignment a name, a start and an end date. So if you want to plan into the future, you can. And then you click create and it creates an assignment. Now you can then invite students. Again, if you need help, you just click get help. Otherwise, you just click invite students, and there's a few different options. You can invite via link, through Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, or email, depending on whichever platform you have. But you can also share these printed codes just by clicking here. And that's quite nice if you're thinking about printing something out to give to the students, stick in their planners or something like that. But also if you're thinking maybe you could put this up on your interactive whiteboard, your students can all just scan it with their phones. That's also quite a nice way to do it. Makes it nice and quick and simple. Now, once your students have joined the class, you then hope that they obviously start completing some work. Now, you've set an assignment to encourage them to do some work. And what you can then do is track the progress of that assignment through this assignments tab down the bottom here. So if I were to click on that, You can choose from upcoming or past assignments. I'm going to a past one just so I can see some data. And you can see here you've got some assignments, you've got some basic stats on when, on how well the students have done. And you say you've got ticks for if they've done it on completed on time. You've got this little timer for if it was late and the cross for if it was incomplete. Now, the best way to use this to help your students catch up is to basically set one really big assignment for your students. And then you'll start to see the data come through like this. Okay, so when I say really big assignment, I mean lots and lots of sections. So here I've only set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. But if you set 25, say, for example, your students could then start to work through this work and you could start to gather all the data on it. Now, what that will then allow you to do is identify exactly where there are gaps in students' knowledge. So you can see there are certain students here who are coming up as red. So for example, there's Vida, we've got Dominique, we've got Desti, we've got some different students who are clearly struggling with some of the content. And this is, first of all, the first step of your helping your students catch up, which is to identify the problems students are having or the knowledge gaps students have. So that allows you to do that. Now then you're going to want to think, okay, I've got this student here, Vida, I need to put some sort of intervention in place to support her because there are serious issues that she has actually maybe lost, she's gone backwards over lockdown, or there have been other things that have meant that she's not picked up the knowledge in the way that she should have done. And to do that, you can either do something completely separate from Seneca, or you can use our Smart Reassign feature. Now the Smart Reassign feature, what it will do is basically it will take this data and it will automatically set work for students based on how well they've done. So let me show you how that works. Go to Smart Reassign at the top. You'll see it comes up and says, which sections do you want to reassign? And you can choose what you want. So say I would argue that for any students who get less than 80%, if that's the content that you would have taught them over the last 6 months, that is an issue that they're getting less than 80%. So I would suggest selecting less than 80% and also anyone who hasn't completed it. And what you can do is reassign these sections automatically just at the click of a button. After you give it a name, and then you reassign it, give it a start and an end date that's appropriate. And then you'll see when it loads in a second. Oh, sorry, so first of all, you can share that to Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, share a link on Show My Homework or whatever it is you want. But then you can see that you've got some students here and it's automatically reset the work for them, just the sections that they've struggled with most. So you can see here, we've got NS for not set, and we've got NA for not yet done. So Yasmin, you can see here, has got 5 sections. She needs to redo 3 of them because she either didn't complete those 3 sections or she got less than 80%. So it's a really quick way to, first of all, as I say, identify whether a student gaps in students' knowledge, but then plug them using this Smart Reassign function as well. Now the Smart Reassign function is also really clever because it will basically take into account how well the student did previously, and it will adapt the session the student sees accordingly. So say, for example, on this exception words section, if I did it the first time, I would have a session that would, first of all, in the session that I'm working on, it would adapt and change to how I performed. So if you stood behind 2 students doing the same exception words section, you'd see that they have very different sessions based on how well they've done. Now, if you came to reset that work for those students, say, for example, in Felton's and Jacqueline's case here, those students would see, again, a different session that would take into account the knowledge that they showed last time. But we'd also look at things like how long it's been since they've studied it, since they've visited that work, and yeah, the different sort of subsections that they struggled with, particularly within that session. So we'll tailor the content accordingly to make sure that they're focusing the most on the sessions that are most important. So that's in terms of what we provide there. You can also use, so not yet, but you will soon be able to use the Smart Reassign feature from Insights. Now, insights is where you can see data that you want to see for your students, but not necessarily based off an assignment. So you might want to include assignment data, but you might also want to include here data that is completed when students complete work independently as well. So you can choose the course you want to see data for. You can choose the different metrics you want to see. So like most recent attempt, best score, worst score, average score, and then the date range. And then you can select the sections you want to see data for. So I'm going to select quite a few here. I'm going to select all of these sections here in section 1, the challenge of natural hazards in this geography course. If I select that and give it a second just to work on getting all that data, you can then see, again, you've got this data nicely presented. And soon you'll have another button up here, which will say Smart Reassign this work based on the data you've got in front of you right here. So again, a really quick way to identify where there are student gaps, like Yasmin's tectonic plates knowledge, and also to plug those gaps by setting that work for Yasmin and other students who have similar situations automatically. Now that is that in terms of what we provide for free in terms of helping students to plug those knowledge gaps. There are some useful premium features that will also help to plug students' knowledge gaps as well. Now, I'm just going to touch on them briefly because I'm aware that a lot of your schools won't have premium, but I think it's worth sharing what these are so you can sort of see them and understand them. Now, within a course, you have different ways that you can study the course. So if I just pick a course, for example, that I've studied a bit on, let's go to this AQA GCSE chemistry course. You can see that students can just study in exactly the same way as they normally would through Seneca, which is through the just by clicking on one of these sections, and they can then choose whatever they want to study, and they can choose it whatever it is. Okay, so say I want to look at the Earth's atmosphere, learn about carbon footprints. As a student, I can go in here and start learning. And it gives me some content first of all. I can cycle through this content and read it, all based on the information in the spec I need to know. And then I will be repeatedly quizzed on this to make sure that I am what's the content I understand and what the content I'm struggling with. Now this adaptiveness, this differentiation will be happening behind the scenes without you sort of even realizing really. But it will be happening straight away to make sure we're challenging the students accordingly. Now this is, as I say, generating lots of nice data that I've shown you how to access on your teacher accounts, but it also generates work for your students to use our premium learning modes. Now our premium learning modes, there are 2 of them. One of them is called Smart Learning Mode and one of them is called Wrong Answer Mode. Now Wrong Answer Mode is a way to help students really focus in on the areas of the curriculum that they struggle with most. So you'll see here I've clicked on wrong answers. You can see that I've got 127 wrong answers. And I've got a whole host of different sections here that Seneca is encouraging me to revisit to make sure I'm focusing most on those sections that I struggle with most. So if I click on this top one, mixtures, you can see I've got 13 incorrect answers. And those 13 incorrect answers are shown by these bars along the top here. And students can click Start Learning and they will be basically repeatedly asked questions, and you'll see as they get them right, they will fill in with this blue color. So again, I can just tick these off basically. And if I'm not sure, I can still click check. And it will just help students to really focus on these particular questions, but focus really tightly on a particular topic. So it will help them to focus on those areas that they struggle with most. Now, the final premium learning mode we have is Smart Learning Mode. And this can be almost thought of like a timetabling tool, basically. So we will again take into account the data we have on students in terms of how well they've done, how long it's been since they've studied particular courses, what aptitude they've shown in the past and where they've struggled with most in the past. And we will suggest sections that they should revisit at just about the right time for them. So you'll see I've got at the top section here, I've got reactions of alkenes, it's suggesting that I come back and study that session and do it, and I can go through that. So again, this is to help students revisit information that they struggle with most. You'll probably find that if you sent your students away and said, I want you to go and just do some work to help catch up with anything that you've missed over the last 6 months, they wouldn't know where to start. So this helps both these learning modes, the wrong answer and the smart learning mode, help the students to do that more effectively. So they're available with our premium packages. Obviously, if you want to find out more about them, just feel free to get in touch. But the main thing I want to focus on is our free features, which are there and, as I say, available to use for you to reset work for your students and for you to, as I say, first of all, identify and then fill those knowledge gaps. So that's basically all I wanted to show you in terms of how you can use Seneca to help students catch up. Is there anything more specific that anyone would like me to go into about, because I haven't shown you much of the functionality, the wider functionality of Seneca or anything like that during this section. I focus purely on the catch-up process. So if there's any questions on the catch-up process or anything else you want me to go through, please do feel free to pop that in the chat. I'll just wait a minute to see if anyone has any questions. Okay, it doesn't look like there's any questions for anyone, which either means I've explained it very well, or yeah, or you just can't think of any right now, and that's absolutely fine. What I'd say is if you do have further questions on how this works, or you'd like to watch this session back again, I will put the link to this exact session in the chat now. And if you would like to, yeah, have a go, and as I say, you can sign up for free and start using us for free, and those features I showed you earlier are there and ready to use. If you're having any trouble with them, what I'd suggest is you go to on your account, you'll find a little live chat in the bottom corner, and you can get through to my colleague Olivia, who'll be able to help you through the chat. Otherwise, please do get in touch. We just had a quick question from Bavine. I hope I said your name right, Bavine. Are there GCSE social science courses available via premium? So when you say the social sciences, Bavine, which social sciences are you talking about particularly? We're talking about sociology, psychology? Yeah, okay. So psychology courses are free. We have free and premium psychology courses. So we have those and ready to use. GCS, in terms of GCSE psychology, let me just double check. I don't think we have GCSE psychology, but we do have A level. Let me just double check that for you. So no, so we only have A-level psychology courses, I'm afraid, but we do have GCSE sociology, if that's useful. And also, I believe, GCSE politics? No, we don't have GCSE politics, but yeah, so we don't have any sociology, I'm afraid. So they've only got 3 A-level ones. So what, in terms of psychology, so in terms of the psychology courses we have AQA, standard courses, we have our standardized assessment courses, and we have our preparation for A-level courses as well. But on top of that, with premium, if you want to get extra courses, you have flashcard courses, we have hyper learning courses as well, we have predicted papers, and also night before the exam preparation courses as well, all come with the premium. Okay, question from Fiona says, I'm considering the tutor option as a parent for my son in order for him to be able to get more prompt support when he is stuck. Okay, great. So yeah, if you have any questions about that, Fiona, just feel free to message my colleague Olivia through the live chat on our website. And if you need any help with clarifying whether that is something you want to go for, then just feel free to ask her any questions. Or if there's anything more specific you want to ask me now, then obviously feel free. Okay, so Rachel says, can you explain the difference between the free and the paid option? So yeah, of course. So our free courses, our free option basically provides about 25 different subjects we cover, and we cover, as I said earlier, it's either linked to the national curriculum at key stages 2 and 3, or at key stage 4 and 5, it's linked to the exact exam spec. And we don't hold back any content or anything like that. So everything a student needs to know is within those courses that we provide for free. And those sessions do automatically differentiate, like I described earlier. Now, what we provide as a premium option is two things. First of all, we provide those learning modes that I talked about. So to really boost students' learning, we provide wrong answer mode to help them revisit the areas of the curriculum they struggle with most. And we provide smart learning mode to help them revisit content at just the right moment for them, like that timetabling tool I described. But then you also get access with premium to over 800 new courses as well. So there's all sorts of things like flashcard courses I mentioned to Veen earlier, and also hyperlearning courses, which is sort of, we break the content down in a slightly different way, slightly shorter, sharper, with more images, more different questions and things like that. There's a whole host of different premium courses we provide. There's about 10, 12 different types of courses that we offer. So if you want to know more about that, what I'd just suggest is sending me an email. I'll put my email in the chat now. So yeah, feel free to give me an email and I can send you some information and some access to have a look at what premium actually is. Okay. 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 Right. Well, that looks like it's all the questions. As I say, if you, oh, sorry, hang on. I sent my email to Fiona only rather than to Rachel. So apologies for that. I'll send it to Rachel now. So yes, if you want to give me an email, just feel free to do that. Otherwise, if there's no other questions, then please, all that's left to say is thank you very much for joining. I hope you found it useful. And if you have any questions, as I say, do get in contact with my colleague Olivia, or get in touch with me, and I'm happy to help out. Otherwise, thanks very much and have a great evening.